It was a chilly November afternoon in Chicago, the wind biting through the streets as the city hummed with its usual energy. Donald Trump, dressed in a long blue-black coat and a red tie, walked down Michigan Avenue. He was in town for a meeting, but instead of taking a car to his hotel, he decided to walk. He wanted to take in the city's energy and clear his mind. As he passed a corner near Millennium Park, something caught his attention and made him pause. Sitting hunched against a building was a woman. Her clothes were old and tattered, and her hands shook as she held a cardboard sign that read, "Veteran in need, please help." Trump stopped in his tracks, ignoring the hustle of the crowd around him. The woman's weary eyes locked onto his, and something about them struck him deeply. He approached her slowly, his curiosity growing. People glanced at them, but the busy Chicago streets seemed to fade into the background. Trump knelt down in front of her and spoke, his voice firm yet kind. "Ma'am," he began, "what's your name?" The woman looked up, startled. She hadn't expected anyone to stop, let alone someone as well known as Donald Trump. She hesitated for a moment as she was checking her change in the white ball in her pocket, and then she said, "Teresa." Teresa Hensley. Trump's brow furrowed as he listened to her. "Teresa," he repeated. "Are you a veteran?" "Yes, sir," she said, her voice soft and barely audible. "I served in the Army for 12 years. I got injured overseas, and well, things haven't been easy since." Trump nodded, processing her words. He looked into her tired eyes, trying to understand what she had gone through. "Why are you out here?" he asked. "Don't you have a place to stay?" Teresa shook her head. "Lost my apartment months ago," she said, her voice tinged with defeat. "I couldn't keep up with the rent. Been trying to get back on my feet, but it's hard." Trump's heart sank. Here was a woman who had given so much to the country, who had served in the military and sacrificed for her nation, now reduced to begging on the streets. He couldn't just walk away, not when he could do something about it. He stepped a few feet away, his voice becoming urgent as the phone rang. Margaret, his longtime assistant, answered immediately. "Margaret," Trump said, his tone businesslike, "I need you to find the nearest hotel with availability and call a doctor, someone who can do a quick checkup. Tell them it's urgent." Margaret responded without hesitation, "Right away, Mr. Trump." Trump turned back to Teresa, who was watching him with a mix of confusion and cautious hope. "Help is on the way," he reassured her, before adding, "But first, let's get you something warm to eat." He flagged down a food vendor nearby and bought Teresa a steaming bowl of soup and a sandwich. She ate slowly, her hands shaking from the cold. As she ate, Trump gently asked her about her life, about her time in the Army, her family, and how she ended up on the streets. Teresa spoke of the friends she had lost during her deployments, the injury that had ended her military career, and how the transition to civilian life had been much harder than she had expected. Minutes later, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb, its engine purring quietly. Margaret had worked fast. A well-dressed driver stepped out, holding the door open. Trump stood and helped Teresa to her feet. "This is for you," he said gently. "We're taking you somewhere safe." Teresa hesitated. "Why are you doing this, Mr. Trump? You don't even know me." Trump looked into her eyes, his voice steady. "Because someone should have done it a long time ago." The SUV whisked them away to a nearby luxury hotel where the staff, prepped by Margaret, greeted Teresa like a VIP. They escorted her to a suite on the top floor where a hot shower, fresh clothes, and a warm bed awaited her. A doctor arrived soon after to examine Teresa, providing her with medicine for her ailments and advice on how to regain her health. Trump stayed nearby, making sure everything was handled smoothly. Meanwhile, Margaret had contacted Veterans United Support Services, a non-profit organization specializing in helping homeless veterans reintegrate into society. Within the hour, their representative, a cheerful woman named Lisa, arrived to meet Teresa. "Hey, Teresa," Lisa said, sitting beside her. "We're going to help you with housing, job training, and anything else you need. You're not alone anymore." Tears filled Teresa's eyes as she looked at Lisa, then at Trump. She didn't know how to express her gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you, Mr. Trump," she whispered. Trump stepped forward with a warm smile. "You don't need to thank me, Teresa. You earned this a long time ago." By the next morning, Teresa had a new plan for her life. Veterans United had found her temporary housing, and Trump had arranged for his foundation to cover her rent for the first year. He even handed her a check to help with any immediate expenses. As Trump prepared to leave, Teresa stopped him. She looked up at him, her voice steady now. "Mr. Trump, you've changed my life in ways I can't describe. Thank you." Trump smiled and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're going to do great things, Teresa. Just promise me one thing. Pay it forward." "I will," she said, her voice filled with newfound determination. As Trump walked out of the hotel and back into the bustling streets of Chicago, he felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. The world was still chaotic, and there were many problems left to fix, but for one woman, Teresa Hensley felt extremely loved by him, and in that moment, he knew he had done something that truly mattered. For more interesting videos, hit the subscribe button and bell icon.